Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Death's Head 2, number 4. That's part 4 of a 4-issue limited mini-series, cover dated June 1992. So this is a wraparound cover by Liam Sharp, penciling and inking himself. And I think the colours are also by Helen Stone, who is the colorist on the interior pages. So let's open this one up so that you can get the full impact of the wraparound cover. And what you see here is we've got Death's Head, who has taken over the minion cyborg body, and he is fighting this threat. Charnel is his name, and he's a combination, kind of a scientific necromantic blend of Death's Head's old body and Baron von Strucker's great-great-grandson. Baron von Strucker, the founder of AIM, the Nazi founder of AIM. So what we have here is we've got Tuck and we've got Dr. Necker here, but a motley crew of Avengers from the 2020 that was ravaged by Charnel. And Charnel comes into being in 2020, but then he determines to go back to 1992 in order to destroy AIM in the past as well, and get his revenge on AIM for betraying his great grandfather, the original Baron von Strucker. So I hope you're not confused by all of that. Anyway, cover caption here, the final battle. Let's open this one up to the splash page. And what's really cool about this issue, and I remember reading this story back in 1992, and this was the first time I had seen some of these characters, because I only really started reading Marvel Comics in 1990. I mean the superhero comics. And so it was my first time seeing characters like Daredevil and Doctor Strange here, and the Punisher even as well. And what we're seeing here is 2020 dystopian versions of these characters, and they've had to band together in order to take on this ultimate threat of Charnel. Here he is in his 2020 guise, and it's a desperate situation they're in, and they've come up with a plan. Frank Castle in particular has come up with a plan in order to try and defeat Charnel. So we have Doctor Strange going up against this necromantic sorceress monster, and he says to him, you're powerful, Strange, very powerful, but you're no match for my necromancy. And Strange is there doing his best, and meanwhile and the Amazing Spider-Man goes into action, he goes into action to carry out Frank Castle's plan. And in the meantime, Daredevil here, who's using a gun, gets blasted. Frank Castle doesn't see it, and then he turns around and Daredevil's been shot in the chest and killed. And I always remember this image where Frank is terribly upset. He's got like a bionic arm there. He's got this huge, what is it, like a machine gun, laser gun thing? It must be like a machine gun, because it's sending out shell casings there, and Liam Sharp has written on the side of it, "Bitch funky," of all things. And Frank says, "You freaks, he was my friend." And it's kind of like a little pieta here of Daredevil, dead and bleeding in the rubble. Great colors on these pages, like very kind of vibrant, almost psychedelic colors. So here's the creative team. Almost skipped over that. The specific title of this story is 2020 Vision. It's part 4 of the Wild Hunt, so that is the miniseries as a whole. The story's by Dan Abnett, pencils Liam Sharp, and inks by Andy Lanning and Liam Sharp. So I'll point out when Liam Sharp comes on board as inking his own pencils. At the beginning, it's Andy Lanning doing the job. Colors Helen Stone. Her colors are amazing, like watercolor dyes, and they just look so vibrant, as I said, to the point of being almost psychedelic. Letters Perry Godbold. So let's continue with the issue. So Strange here is losing against Charnel and is destroyed. And so the Punisher is in despair almost. We failed, he thinks. But Amazing Spider-Man's still going. and his real identity is known to everyone. So it's Peter. Charnel hasn't seen him, and he grabs this device that's on Charnel's chest, and he throws it to the Punisher, even as he's blasted by Charnel. And so Charnel says, "You don't you have no powers like the others. Why do you persist in this? Give me the device, and I'll make your death painless. Give it to you. After what it's cost us, get real." So Punisher throws it away, and I love this, just this macho boast. Now, what were you saying about pain? And all he's got here is practically just a steak knife. Punisher's war journal ends. He's destroyed by Charnel. But somebody picks up this device, and we'll get an explanation of what it is. 12 minutes later, and 6 miles away, the bunker HQ of Earth's surviving defenders. And this is the remains of Manhattan. Here he comes, make ready. So who is it? Who's picked up this device? Well, it turns out to be Rhino, and here we've got Wolverine. Great drawing of Wolverine here, opening up a panel in the door, in the security door, and obviously Rhino no longer a villain, and he hands over the device to Wolverine, who says, "I think maybe this thing costs too much." So this turns out to be the headquarters of the Avengers, those of them that survive, including unlikely members like Wolverine, the Rhino, and also here in this containment tank, it's Reed Richards. So Reed says, "So we have the device, the price was terrible, but we have to make this time jump count." So the device allows for technology that allows a time jump. Captain America is a survivor too. And he says, "We're ready, old friend. Scarlet Witch, Rhino, She-Hulk, Wolverine, are you prepared for the mission?" Wolverine's impatient, get on with it. And then we've got this anchor image of this motley crew of Avengers. And with their 2020 uniforms, or not uniforms, costumes designed by Liam Sharp, looks pretty cool. And Captain America goes over what the mission is. And he says, "When we're all ready, Wolverine, Charnel has slaughtered our world. There's no way we can destroy him now, but with Charnel's time travel device, we might have a chance. I'm setting the coordinates for 1992, when Charnel first appeared, before he established himself and when he was at his weakest. There we have a chance of destroying him and making sure this particular future never comes to pass. We're the only ones left now. Let's make this count. Let's live up to our name." So, Avengers assemble. And Reed says, "I wish I could go with you, Steve." But he was crippled by Charnel's sorcery. And Richards is determined that this abomination doesn't take place. So off they go. They time jump to 1992. And then the scene switches to New York 1992. And we have the arrival of Death's Head, Tuck, and Dr. Necker, who have come from the far future to 1992, making their own time jump. And they've come tooled up with these massive arm-mounted guns that the women are carrying. They look pretty cool. And Dr. Necker says, "Death's Head," so this is catching up readers, "whatever destroyed the IAM headquarters in 2020 will arrive here any minute. Our future is in doubt. The timeline could change. We may never exist." So that's the situation. And what happens is their minion, Death's Head rather, is attacked from behind by Wolverine. And here we have the Avengers arriving in 1992 also. And Wolverine mistakes Death's Head for Charnel because of that kind of physiognomic resemblance, the skull and horn head that they share. But Captain America points out, "Avengers, Logan, regroup. These aren't the ones." So then we get explanations. And Captain America has heard of Death's Head by virtue of studying the Fantastic Four files on him. And he says, "You don't look much like the Death's Head they knew." And Death's Head, with his sense of humor now, says, "What can I say? Liposuction, silicone work, and I've been dieting. Apart from being flippant, what are you doing here?" So he explains about the fact that something terrible is going to arrive here and try to radically change the timeline. That's Charnel. So basically they team up. So Death's Head himself says it. "So what do you say, Captain America? Do we team up?" And Well, they do, but they got no choice because here's Charnel arriving and the reception party's there waiting for him. So we just get a huge battle now, and some great action artwork from Liam Sharp. So Rhino does a fastball special with She-Hulk, but Charnel basically just breaks her neck, and Rhino just goes flying into Charnel, and Charnel just zaps him away through a plate glass window of the shopping mall that they're in. So Captain America asks, "Where's Wolverine?" And Death's Head says, "Sharpening his claws somewhere, I think. My turn in the ring now." Okay, so here we go. So Dr. Necker designed Minion in order to combat the threat of Charnel. So this is what he was made for. And is it going to work? So he flies into action against Charnel, and he's going up a threat. He's going up against a threat that also includes sorcery. And how can he, a cyborg being of science, tackle someone like Charnel? And it looks like he's destroyed. Charnel says here, giving the Avengers the fingers, "I'm the future." That's a great panel. And so Captain America gets on the phone, it seems, to Wolverine and says, "Wolverine, he's taken out our strongest players. Guess that just leaves us weaklings. See you on the other side, Steve." So Wolverine leaps into action. Definitely Liam Sharp studying Jim Lee's way of drawing Wolverine here and aping that in this image. But he's not copying a Jim Lee drawing, he's doing it himself, which I appreciate. Also, what was interesting was one of his adamantium claws snapped against the polymer, what would you call it, like skin or armor of Death's Head 2, which was interesting. So Wolverine is, of course, able to tackle Charnel up to a point, as Captain America says, with his self-healing factor in adamantium skeleton. He can take care of himself for a while. So it's time to get their plan up and running. And they've come to 1992 in particular because Charnel there is weaker, and he is weaker as Captain America suspected him to be, which gives them a fighting chance. So Captain America not giving up. Nice anchor image of him here by Liam Sharp, of course, and sending his adamantium shield, which rips off and through Charnel's arm. And then Death's Head comes back, and Wolverine's happy to see him. And Death's Head says, "I'm hard to kill, but whatever happens here, whether we win or lose, you will die. Why the sacrifice?" And Wolverine says, "When you see what Charnel will do, if we don't stop him here, death is a small price to pay." So Death's Head says, "I admire your spirit, Wolverine. Let's finish this." And it's another nice anchor image. And interesting choice here, no border for the panel. So it makes the two action figures pop, really, at the bottom of the page. So let's see how this turns out for them. We pick up with Rhino, actually, and he's really upset because he had a relationship with She-Hulk and she's dead. So he goes to attack Charnel once again as Tuck shoots at Charnel 2. And the Scarlet Witch is still alive. And so she's determined as an Avenger to get the time travel device that brought us here and, let's see, and attack Charnel. But something's draining her hex power. Not something which it's Charnel tapping into his sorceress side. Reality splits around him. The stink of hell seeps through the tear. Charnel is transformed into the very being these alternate Avengers have feared for most of their lives. So, are they too late? And it's at this point that Liam Sharp inks his own pencils as well. So for the rest of the issue, he's inking his own pencils. And Charnel destroys Rhino, Captain America, Wolverine, and Rhino. And then there's only Death's Head and the two women and Scarlet Witch left. So I really like this panel as well, where Sharp has drawn them mostly in silhouette, and it kind of conveys the dark situation that they find themselves in at that point. So the plan is to destroy Charnel with Wanda's help, and what they agree on here happens between panels, so we the readers don't know, and we're going to have to see it take place. Great. Another great anchor image here of Death's Head going into action with the time jump device. So Charnel's got his own, and Death's Head slaps the second one on him, on his chest, while Wanda is attacking Charnel with her hex powers. And here we go. This was the plan. Time jumper's in place. So Wanda uses her hex power, her reality warping power, to trigger the two time jump devices, and it splits Death's Head's body from Von Strucker's. And this is the explanation of what happened. Two time devices set for two different destinations, one in prehistory and the other in the 30th century. So they tore him apart. And that is the end of Charnel. And so Wanda's here just off to one side. And what's going to happen to her? Were they successful in preventing that dystopian future of 2020? Yes. It's over, she says. At last he's finished, as she ceases to exist. So that's their success. And Dr. Necker says, so our future is safe. And Death's Head replies, yeah. Time we were on our way took. Where are you going? So it's Death's Head. He says, Doctor, how many times do I have to remind you, I'm not your pet cyborg anymore. So she says to him, all right, but what about the money I promised you? It's waiting for you back in 2020. That's the 10 million. I have a feeling you lied, he says. Besides, somehow I don't think you or the future AIM have the means to pay me anymore. So she says, well, at least you got a new body out of all of this. If you hadn't built this body and programmed it to kill my old one and all those other people to become part of what I am now, none of this would have happened, he says, as he crushes her gun. There's blood on your hands, Necker. Your actions produce this whole nightmare. If I were you, I'd think twice before planning anything else. And that's a great close-up, 3/4 profile on Death's Head, showing off that new design right close up. Great art on these pages, and I think I prefer Liam Sharp inking his own pencils. What do you think? They're a little darker. He uses a bit more black on the rendering of costumes and metallic surfaces than Andy Lanning does. But which do you prefer, Lanning's inks or Sharp's own over his own pencils? So Death's Head gets into this truck, a Juggernaut, I think, just as 1992's Avengers arrive in their 1992 costumes. And that's a nice image of them there arriving with the Quinjet. So Thor douses the fire with his powers. That's a nice top-down image of Necker and Captain America, where she refuses to explain what's happened to Captain America, tells him he'll have to find out what happened to himself, and then she time jumps to 2020. Iron Man clears it up. Personal time jump device, similar sort of readings to the temporal disruption we picked up earlier, and that's why they were there in the first place, but they would have lost that battle against Charnel. So we have the arrival of the Fantasticar as well, and Captain America thinks they better get after the Juggernaut. It's the best lead they have on what happened here. So now you've got Death's Head and Tuck in the Juggernaut, and they've got on their tails the Hulk, the Quinjet, the Fantasticar, and Tuck asks Death's Head, what do you say this place was called? Manhattan, he says. And what will we find here, she asks him. Best guess, Tuck, action, adventure, and heinous intrigue, and that's just on the subway. Whatever happens, I can promise you it won't be dull, as the Hulk lands on top of the trailer of the Juggernaut. The Quinjet is catching up the Fantasticar, and look who's here in the background. Even Ghost Rider is coming after them. That's a really great ending and a setup for the regular ongoing series, which would come out in a few months' time. So then we've got adverts for more of Marvel UK's imprint and their various titles. Here's the important announcement. Death's Head will be back with a new issue of an ongoing series in October 1992. We've got some nice little extras here. So we've got Liam Sharp's original sketch of the new design of Death's Head 2, and an unpublished page from the first issue here, where we see Necker with a different design costume. That's like a full body costume. I think I like that one actually. But in any case, and then we've got advertisements for more of the stable of Marvel UK titles like Motormen. That's covered by Gary Frank. We've got a cover for Hell's Angel #1 here. That's by Liam Sharp. That looks good. The Knights of Pendragon Digitech. And let's see, and that's something else. So I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on Death's Head 2, #4, the final part, the final battle of the 4-issue miniseries. If you enjoyed the video, like it in YouTube, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.